We'll do a review in Lekutei Sichos in Chelek Tezvav. This is the third Sicha, Parsha Vayigash. It's a Rashi Sicha in which the Rebbe will explain the details in the meaning of the word Vayinahalem. And the Rebbe is going to explain that there's two level of leading someone physically, which is the meaning of Vayinahalem. Then there's also the meaning of leading them in a figurative way, that you're taking care of them fully, as the Rebbe will explain what Rashi has to explain over here, because the pasuk first, it says already that Yosef took care of the people, he fed them for the in return for their horses that they exchanged, the Egyptians, and Yosef gave them food in their place. But over here, the pasuk wants to add another step to it, that he actually took care of them fully by Yinahalim, that all the details, as the Rebbe will explain. There's also a Yenei Shel Torah, interesting, the various levels of love to Hashem from Lekutei Torah, as the Rebbe brings it also into this Rashi. Aleph. The Soif Parsha Seinu, in the end of the Parsha with the Torah, der zählt, the Yosef had gespeist the Einwohner, in which the Torah relates how Yosef fed the inhabitants from Eretz Mitzrayim, from land of Mitzrayim, on Eretz Canaan, and land of Canaan, because they all came to buy food in Eretz Mitzrayim. Und as bishas sie haben mehr kein Kesef nicht gehabt, mit was zu kaufen Speis, when they no longer had any money with which to purchase any food, hat sie Yosef gegeben lechem for zeir mikneh. So Yosef gave them bread in exchange for the cattle. So state in Pasuk, so in the verse it states, Vayiten lahem Yosef lechem basusim, that Yosef gave them the bread in exchange of the horses, goimer. And then the Pasuk says, Vayinahalem balechem, and he led them with the bread, b'chol mikneim bashonahi, and all of their cattle that they had in exchange. And that year, Yosef fed them in exchange for all of their cattle. Then the verse goes further, they have no cattle, so they became all servants to Yosef, as the pasuk continues there. But here, so Rashi places himself from the Chumash, brings down the word Vayinahalim, and he led them on his mefarish kimoi Vayinahagim. It's just like the meaning of leading them. And then Rashi brings a similar language to this meaning of Vayinahalim when the pasuk says Ein Menahela, there's nobody to lead her. Or another pasuk, Almei Menuches Yinahaleni, on water and silent water and pastures, he leads me. In all these psukim, these two psukim, Menahel and Yinahaleni, mean lead, and this is the explanation of Vayinahalim Balachem, that he led them with bread. Seems a pretty straightforward Rashi, but we always need to know what's really bothering Rashi over here. Is the word Menahalim not a common language? Is the proofs that Rashi brings? Why does he choose these proofs versus earlier proofs in the pasuk? As the Rebbe will go on to question and explain. Learning the Pashtus, when you learn it at the simple level, kumt Rashi the Abtaichen dem Wort Vayinahalim. So Rashi is coming over here to translate the word Vayinahalim, and he led them. Pasha to give us the meaning of the word Vayinahalim. But of course, the Rebbe is going to say that's not really, it's difficult to say that, but that's what it looks like at first glance, that Rashi is trying to teach, to translate the word Vayinahalim. Since it's a language which is not so common in the Chumash, and that is the reason, Rashi also brings evidence to his interpretation that Vayinahalim means that he led them Vayinahagim. he brings evidence as megifint noch erter, that we find more other places, additional places, with the lashon nehol main nohag. The lashon of nehol means he leads them. That's the meaning of the word nohal. Aber nicht verstandig. But that's not understood. Rabbi says it's hard to explain that the meaning of the word vainalim, the vainalim means to lead them, is something that the child doesn't know, because we already find the lashon nihul before. Rashi doesn't explain it over there. If the word nihul is something needs explanation, then Rashi should explain it the first time in the Chumash. And if it doesn't explain it over there, it means that something else is bothering Rashi, why Rashi has to explain it over here. So, first of all, the Rebbe says, Aleph is nicht verstandig, it's not understood. Number one. We find the lashon of nihul also earlier in the Chumash. It says, Es nahala li'iti. Yaakov was saying to Esav that he's going to go ahead slowly, lead his way, make his way, progress slowly, while Esav should go ahead. Und dort is Rashi nicht mefarish. Over there, Rashi doesn't explain what the word meant. Rashi doesn't explain what as nahala means. Is a marushach. So the Rebbe says, so either way, if we're going to, if the Ben Chamish weiss dem Teich von Wort, if the Ben Chamish knows the translation of the word of nihul, und darf es Rashi nicht auf Teich und dort, and that's why Rashi is not necessary for Rashi to translate it over there in the Chumash, with the Lashon states from Eshtemol, where this language of Nil is stated, it's the very first time mentioned. So if Avos is noting, so Rashi doesn't have to explain it because Ben Chumash knows the Taich. Avos is noting as all those mefader sein in unser parsha. So why is it important that in our parsha that he should explain this? Und if the Ben Chumash leveis nit dem Taich, and if the 5-year-old does not know the translation, their father is as Rashi mefader in unser parsha. That's why Rashi explains it in our Chumash, because he doesn't know. So then notice Rashi gedacht befarzem beim ersten Mal. Then Rashi should have explained it by the first time, by Esna'ala li'iti, when it says lead slow over there in that place. Rashi should have said what the meaning of the word Esna'ala means. So the Rebbe is going to prove from this. It means that Rashi is not just simply coming to translate the word Esna'ala, what it means, because the meaning Rashi didn't have to explain it before. So why would Rashi have to explain it over here? Base. Number two, Rashi brings two proofs over here. Why does Rashi need two proofs? He says by Nahegem, v'doimeleim and Nahelo, v'doimeleim and Nahelo, memnuchsen alein. If Avos bring Rashi tzvei rayis lepirushay, why does Rashi bring two proofs for his commentary? Was his nigenug einaf und the tzvei, and one of the two is not sufficient? Why does he need to bring both? Gimel. And number three, the Rebbe is going to point out there is other, Rashi precisely brings these pesukim because they serve a specific concern for Rashi. Because if it's just the word nihul, Rashi doesn't have to go as far in Yeshaya where he brings the pasuk or from the Rashi could have brought it before that. Gimel. Before that pasuk, we find already the idea of nihul in the Navi. Avos bringt Rashi the erste Reihe from pasuk in Yeshaya Menayelo. Why does he bring the first evidence from the pasuk in Yeshaya where it says Menayelo? Unit for nafrir the pasuk in Yeshaya. He should have brought a previous, an earlier pasuk in Yeshaya. The pasuk says Val mabu emayim yenalim. So there is exactly the word Yinalim on lakes of water, Mabu Emayim, flows of water. He leads them. So it also says Yinalim over there. And that pasuk is before this pasuk over there. That's Memtes Yud Daled. This is Nun Aleph Yud Ches. So that pasuk comes before. Why does Rashi bring the second pasuk? Rashi specifically wants this pasuk, as the Rebbe will explain. Beis Dorten is der Wort B'Teichen Chiyuvi. So Befrat, no, the Rebbe says, but and that would be that pasuk would have had an advantage for two reasons. First of all, Aleph, dort is the Loshen B'dema Mamash to Loshen Vayinahalim. Ein Menahel law is not Vayinahalim, it's Menahel law, it's the same Shoydish, but it's not the same word. So to bring a pasuk where it actually says Vayinahalim is exactly as it says over here Vayinahalim. So that seems to be even a better pasuk. It's earlier in the Yeshaya, and it fits more with our pasuk. In addition to the wording being exactly, also the context, because by us we're saying ein menahelo, it's a negative. Over there, our pasuk is a positive, and that pasuk, the first pasuk in Yeshaya, would have been a positive too. Beis, dort is the word b'tochen chiyuvi. Over there, the word is in a context, a positive context, yinahalim, as if it just like in our case, the pasuk says vayinahalim in a positive. Mashenkin the pasuk ein menahelo, as opposed to the pasuk that Rashi does quote from Yeshaya later on, says ein menahelo is in yonush lila. Over there, it's not. It's in a way of a negative of not leading. So seems all these things, for all these advantages, Rashi should have seemingly brought the pasuk in the earlier pasuk in Yeshaya, so this also tells us that there is something more that Rashi specifically wants that pasuk, as the Rebbe will explain later on. Dalit. And the other thing is the exact language, this precise language that Rashi uses over here. You can see Rashi uses kimoi vayinahagim, just like it doesn't say loshen vayinahagim. It seems that Rashi is trying to say something else, not just a taich. If we say like the pshute, that just vayinahagim meant Rashi up taich in the word vayinalim. Rashi intention is here to translate what the word of vayinalim means. But Rashi gedarf zogen, then Rashi should have said the words need not kemoi vayinagim chulu, like vayinagim, nor vayinalim loshen anhogim. The language vayinalim is the language of leading, or the loshen vayinagim, or the loshen vayinagim. It's about such a loshen which would tell us kemoi means like. It means like it's trying to say something more than just telling you the taich, the translation. Hey, and also favozok Rashi v'doy meloi, and similar to it is eimen alav v'chulu unid v'chein. The lashon is also an uncommon, similar to it. So say likewise. This is rogel v'pirish Rashi b'keitzei, as it's common in Rashi. It's in a similar situation. Rashi uses the word v'chein. So the word v'doy meloi again tells you all that there's something more going on here. But them is mashma. So from this, it's understood. We can hear from this as ein menahelo un almei menuchis in haleni. That when it says ein menahelo, menuch haleni, seine nit mamesh vi vaynal nunzer posik. It's not exactly. It says v'doimeloi, similar to it, but it's not the same. Otherwise, Rashi would have said v'chein. So what is it? So what's going on over here? So the Rebbe explains in Ois Beis. So first the Rebbe establishes that the word Vainalim alone does not need a translation, as we said before, because it's in Loshen Kodesh. So we know that Vainalim means to lead. But over here, there is a very special issue that Rashi addresses, because the pasuk says vayinalim balechem, that he led them with bread. You can't lead with bread. Let's look inside. The bir was that Rashi gishrim is ein pirish b'Loshen Kodesh. Rashi wrote his commentary in the Loshen Kodesh. Un avord vos is rogel in Loshen Kodesh, and a word which is common in Loshen Kodesh, darfer nit up taich. Rashi does not need to translate it. Well, there was learned Pirush Rashi veins them taich the fun, because the one who learns Rashi's commentary knows the translation. Rashi doesn't have to translate for it. On the river, Daf Rashi nitop taich in the board. It's not before the posting where Yaakov says to Esau, Rashi doesn't have to translate it. Because a 5-year-old was learning Rashi b'Loshen HaKodesh, which is learning Rashi in Loshen HaKodesh. Based on Taich, she knows the translation. Ich will führen. I will lead. Es not I will lead. Zich und die Yilodim tzenu bakar. I will lead myself, the children, the sheep, the cattle that Yaakov was leading. I will lead them. That means to lead is a understood word when you see esnahalo, when you say esnahalo in that context. But in the pasuk b'parsha seinu, however, in the verse in our parsha, wo steht vayinahalim balachem, he led them with bread. So you can't translate that he led them with bread. The Targum, we have a problem here because the Targum taiched v'zaninun belachmo, that he fed them with bread. I say gespeist mit bread, that he fed them with the bread. But according to the simple meaning of the pasuk, Rashi cannot translate it so as such. Because that he fed them with bread is already written in the pasuk. It says, "Vayiten lehem Yosef lachem basusim." That Yosef gave them the bread in exchange of their horses. So it already says that he fed them with the bread instead of the horses. Now, there's an addition in our pasuk. Our pasuk is not only the horses. We said everything. Oh, unchoch their pasuk is the moisiv b'chol mikneim b'shonai, and the pasuk adds the two details. It was all the cattle, not only the horses, but it was also, and it was all that year. But still, is them nitnoitik. But for that purpose, to add these points, as that the pasuk should say again that he led them with the bread. So it would have been sufficient to add these details. Not to say again by that he led them. What did he lead? He already fed them. It's already said before. So Rashi has to explain Vainal means something more than just he fed them through the bread. That's how he led them. And therefore Rashi says Kimoi Vainagim. That over here it's like saying Vainahagim, Anhoga, conduct. And he conducted himself with them. He led them by conducting himself with them. This meant Rashi does not change the meaning of the taich of Vainahalim that he led them. Rashi as Vainahalim is a Loshen Hanoga. Rashi doesn't want to say that Vainahalim is a language of conduct. Sort of Vainahalim, he conducted himself with them. Hayois as though is as nit maspik umasim kinal. Because over here it's not sufficient just to lead them. So Rashi is trying to say, in addition to leading them, he also conducted himself with them, sort of an additional point. No, that's not. But the meat is that zum Loshem Vayinagim. But Rashi really hints to when he says Kemoy Vayinahagim, as the meaning of Vayinagim, he conducted himself, which we find in Tehillim. So Loshem is Tanakh, Tehillim. Over there's a Loshem we find Vayinagim Ke'eder Bamidbar. He led them and he conducted himself like a herd in the desert. Over there, Vayinahagim means more than just led them, but it means that he fully took care of them. It's a conduct that he did. It's not changing the taich of Vayinalim. It's just telling you the extent of Vayinalim. That Vayinalim is just like Vahinagim over there in the Tehillim, Vahinagim Ke'eder. That's what took place over here. That's why it's in addition to Bat Lechem Basusim. There is a Vayinalim. There is a Vahinagim Ke'eder Midbar. Und der Riber sagt Kimoi Vahinagim. That's why she doesn't say that it means Vahinagim, but it's just like that the Nihul was like the Vahinagim. Unit Loshen Anhoga. Rashi doesn't say that Venalim means a Loshen of Anhoga because it's not a Loshen of Anhoga. It is a Loshen of leading them in a way, in a style of conduct, like Vainagim Keder Bamidbar. Und der Riber is Ech Musbar der Loshen, and that's why, and their mit, and with this we also understand how we use the Loshen Vainalim, that he led them. How do you lead with bread? It is Vainalim that he conducted himself. As we we know how you lead with bread, Kid Lakamon, as the Rebbe will explain over here. That it's not just giving them the bread, it's not just feeding them, but it's a special conduct to making sure that everybody is provided with. They have exactly, specifically, as the Rebbe will explain. Gimel. The Loshen Batihillim, this language, when we say in the Tehillim, Vayinah game, that he led them, main need as der Eberster hat say gefiert mit an Halicha stam kipshute. Over there doesn't mean that the Eberster led them just, they walked, literally, Vayinah, he led them, so in the physical context would mean, as they're moving along, on the road, leading them. That's not over there. It means nor as a gefiert mit ahanhoge miyuchedes, but rather it means that he led them, that they went. He took them in a very special type of conduct. Ke'eder bamidbar. It was like a herd in the desert. A herd in the desert means in the desert there's nothing there. You got to take care of everything. The Eberster led them, took care of them. It's basically a level of taking care, like an Eder Bamidbar. Mit alle Zeret, Starchison, with all their needs, everything that they need. The Apastuch Firt, as a shepherd Firt an Eder leads and herd, was gefinzig Bamidbar, which finds itself in the desert. Was das kommt? How does that come to that level? Durch Ibergegebenkeit v'chulu, that is by devotion, etc. As alle Zeiri Nyonim sollen sein, that all of their matters should be in a fitting way and a good way, taking fully care of them. That is the idea of Vayinagim. And that's what also Vayinal in Balechem, what the Pasuk is coming to say, he conducted himself a special way, taking care of them. Noch them with the Torah itself, after the Torah relates. As Vayitim HaKesef, the Kesef has finished. Vayitin Lem Yosef Lechem Gomer, now Yosef gives them bread in exchange for their horses. Is the Pasuk Meisiv. So now the Pasuk adds to it, as the Nisin is given in an Oifun, that how did he give it to them? In which kind of a manner? That he led them, he conducted with them that year. And let's say need blois, he gave them spies. Not only did he give them food, but rather he led the Bashpeisung, the feeding them in an in a very special and a fitting way. It's not Vainagim, he led them, he did it in a special way. He would calculate and he would divide it up the bread. He made sure as those that it should be sufficient for them for the entire year. Didn't just give it to them, but he gave it in a way to make sure that they're taken care of, they'll have it for a full year. And they should use it all up in the beginning of the year or similar to. With the Pasuk Zokt for the year, this would be similar to the Pasuk said earlier about Yosef when he fed his family, Yaakov and his children. It says, "Vayichalkel Yosef es Aviv." Yaakov fed his father, Yaakov, Yosef fed them, Ves Echov and his brother, Ves Kol Beis Aviv, and all of the family of his father's home. It says, Lechem lefi hataf, he gave them bread according to the mouth of the children. So Rashi explains over there, what it means is, as is lefi hatzorich l'chol b'nei beison, according to all their needs, what they need for their family. Bavorn dikafilu, and he even took care and made sure, even those with the derech from taf is lefarer alechem, even the amount that in nature of children is that they crumb the bread, so they need more to compensate for that. Everything he took care of. So just like he took care of it there, he also be here. And this is also Yosef conduct in general for the plan that he made for all of Eretz Mitzrayim, how to live through this hunger. In the Arhoga for Yosef, as we find in the conduct of Yosef, in Klolus, Kibbutz Hatvu, and the Shnei Hasova, generally how he gathered in the grain in the years of satisfaction, the 7 good years. How did he do? As a that he worried and he took care, made sure as the that the grain should be able to hold and stay for the entire duration of the time. Rashi is mevayer, as Rashi explains, those was their posik zok. Rashi explains, the posik says, "Vayiten oichel ba'orim," so that he put the food in the cities. The field, the food that comes from the field of the city that surrounds the fields that surround the city, he put inside the city. Why did Yosef do that? Rashi explains, as Yosef geton derfar. Why did he do so? Because because every land and land preserves its fruit. You give inside the grain from the earth of that place, and that sustains the food from rotting away. It keeps it fresh. So this was all calculated, worried, making sure that everything is okay. So here too, when the pasuk adds to Vayinalim, after the pasuk already says he fed them, the pasuk wants to say not only did he feed them, but he fed them in a very special, caring and way to make sure that they will be sustained for the entire duration of that year. So now Rashi needs evidence for that. This type of vayinahalim, it's not just leading, but it's a taking care of. The baldas der taich vayinahalim. Since the taich vayinahalim do is nihul stam. Here it just doesn't mean that he led them. The pashtus. Pashtus mean you lead them along the way. The Riber darf Rashi bring in the rise of the Gemois. Therefore, Rashi needs to bring proof and examples. In which we find the language of leading, not in the simple sense, to lead somebody else. You're leading them, nor but rather, in this case, means a special leading, taking care of. And the forest of Rashi, Rashi brings the pasuk of Ein Menahel Lo. There's nobody to lead her. Over there, what is the meaning over there? Nobody to lead her. Azoich dort is the pirush from Menahel, that over there the meaning of leader is bedoimet zu Vainalim. Over there it's also similar to our case in which is leading them. Val dort retzich benegeya klal Yisrael. Over there we're talking about all Yidden. We're not talking about anybody particularly that you're leading and taking them from one place to the other, leading them. We're talking about a leader. Ein menahel. There's nobody to lead them, to take care of them. But is move on the pashta, so therefore it's understood simply ados meint hanhola betoichen that it means to lead in the context and in the general understood way, not leading from place to place, literally, but to lead, to take care of, and Hanhoga to be in charge. And based on this explanation, now we understand why Rashi doesn't bring the previous verse in Yeshaya, Val Mabuim Mayim Yenalim. Over there it says he leads them on the Mabuim Mayim. But in Deutsch steht das behemshach zu die Wörter ki merachemam yenagim. So over there the pasuk already says the one that has compassion for them, yenahagim, will take care of them, will lead them, will be in a way of conduct themselves, will take care of them. So it already says the idea of yenagim. So what does it mean? That follows. Over there it means he's going to take care of them through leading them in the water. There it means actually leading, not conduct over there. The one boss, yenagim, the state stam, merachim mom yenagim. Since it says the one who has compassion, the Eberster, who's the merachimum, he will lead them. He will conduct himself. We're not talking about leading them from place to other in some specific way. That means the general conduct that the Eberster will take care of them. So that's why would the Torah say again that he will lead them? It says already Eberster leads them. So what does it mean? So when the pasuk follows and says it doesn't mean anymore Hanhoga over there. We already said Hanhoga. Pirusha v'pashtus. Over there it means that he actually leads them. Nihul gashmi b'poil. That practically he will lead them. So over there it's a different. Over there taka nihul means leading them, not conducting, not taking care of them. Because since the pasuk taking care of them, Menachem, which is talking in the general context, already said in the pasuk, so the pasuk wouldn't say again that Yinalim, that he'll take care of them. So therefore, the Yinalim there means literally take them from place to place along the pasture, along the Mabuim Mayim. He will lead them on a place from Kvalvasser where there is well water. Mabuim Mayim where there's well water. As a continuation to what the verse started. They won't be hungry, they won't be thirsty, because he will lead them on the well of water. Leidem is very verstandig. According to this, we also understand. Rashi brings the pasuk from Beshalach. Rashi doesn't bring the pasuk of the portion of Beshalach. The Rebbe didn't mention this before, but now the Rebbe brings it in. Over there it says also, that Hashem led with his strength to the holy dwelling place. But dort volt men gelernt, because over there too you would have learned the pashtus. As nehalto over there means is anil von gain, that is to go el nevekochecha, to go to your holy place, to the Beis Hamikdash. But we're talking about going to a specific nevekochecha means nehalto, you led them to that place. But we're trying to say kimoy v'ainaki. But derech zeh benegeya. The andere Erter in Nach, similar is in the other place in the Nach, but the Loshen Nil meint nicht davke dem Inyan von Omfirim b'muvan hakloli. Over there, where the language of Nil does not mean leading in the general sense, Rashi doesn't bring that down over there, because over there in the over there the Nil von Alich Kipshuta, over there it means literally walking, and Rashi doesn't want to bring down. Rashi is trying to say that Nil over here means a special way, a special conduct on Holok Vaynagim as that Vaynagim. Well, derech zeh is been again the ander Erter in Nach, and the same or similar to this is also in the other places in the Tanakh, with the Loshen Nihul meint nit davke dem inyan von Omfiren b'muvan hakloli, where the idea of Nihul doesn't mean conduct, taken care of, but it means literally. It means just walking. So therefore, those are not evident for our case. So Okay, so now we know where Rashi needs to bring the pasuk Menahelo, but why does he have to go on to bring further the other pasuk? Hey, aber der pasuk Menahelo is not kindimya maspik mamash l'nidan. The pasuk Menahelo is not an sufficient comparison to our pasuk. Warum hagam es meint nit anil von halicha kipshuta. Although over there, ein menayla does not mean walking, leading, literally, but it means taking care of. Is aber euch dan holle klolis was me fiert on mit kol tzarche hamdina va'am. But really, when we talk about general leadership, taking care of the needs of the community, of the country, and the people, it is still similar to leading, literally leading the way in a physical way, and this is a more figurative way. So that's not a absolute raya to our case by nalim balechem. That when it Pasuk says Vainalim Balechem as Mizul Ken and Nutzen them Loshim Vainalim, over here we're trying to use the Loshim Vainalim was weist Oifa Klolosdike on that points to a general leading and taking care of and organizing for them. Benigeya to Aprotisdik and Inyan Fun Lechem, as when we're talking about a specific idea of bread, to use the word organization and taking care, not in a general, but in something specific, like bread for Bashpaizun. To say he organized, he was menahel, he organized the food in a way of taking care. So how do we see that? The Rima brings Rashi Araya from that zweiten pasuk. So Rashi brings another verse. Over there it says, Al mei menuchos yina'aleni. He leads me on mei menuchos with the lotion on the relaxed waters, tranquil waters. With the lotion yinalim welcher is b'muvone harochav steht b'shayches to mei menuchos. The leading, taking care, is associated specifically with water. Mei menuchas, we're talking about water here. Aprotistik inyan fun shtia, which is a specific matter of drinking. Und die Reihe, and so here we see the Lashon of Nil even as it associates with something specifically. In our case, it's Balechem, over there is with the Mayim and the still waters, Mei menuchas, the still water in Alein. When the Reihe from the Pasuk brings Rashi Davke, not the Reihe from Pasuk Emenalo. That proof comes after the proof from the Pasuk Emenalo. But in the Pasuk Al Mei Menuchas Yinaleini is Amoshul of Klolus Tzorche Ha'odom. Over there, when it says it leads me on still waters, that's an example on the general needs of the human. We are hyped on the capital. As that verse begins, Hashem ro'i lo yachzor. God is my shepherd, I shall not want, doesn't lack anything. Bin oiz dashe yar b'tzeini. On the grass, beautiful grass, he has me lie, kneel down. So we're talking about general, we're not talking about specific. So the Meilevot, when it says over here, as it's being written here in a style of an example, so we would say leads me on still water. It means leading, walks me along the path of still water, because it's a moshel. Similar to the previous pasuk in Yeshaya, that he leads them on the well water. So this is a mashal. We need to leave them, but it's not because it's in the idea Hashem leads with us. Here, the leading, just like Yarbit saying, he kneels us down. So over there, he leads us, and it means in a mashal, but the mashal is from something very practical, actually leading, not running, not conducting, not taking care. The Eibster stellt zu alle seine Tztarchen, ubereishon achilu shtiyah kedeboy. The Eibster will provide all of his needs, eating and drinking kedeboy. So over there, it's used as a mashal, but the word Yinahaleni, Ameimin Haleni would mean literally leading, just like Yarbit Zaini. And that means that Rebbe gives all of the needs. But after the Posik Eimenala, as the Loshen Nil is Masim Nid Bloisoifa Nil from the Regashmis. Over there we see that leaders doesn't not necessarily have to be physically walking. Menaylo is not talking about physical. There's nobody leading it. There's nobody taking care. Talking about Knesset Yisrael in general. So, Teichman, Oich, Amei, Menuch Naleni. So then we're also going to translate what is Menuch Naleni. Ados mein dem Inyan von Onfirun the Alle Tzorchei Ha'odam. That it means leading with all the needs of the person. And yet, the Sidru Mazor Machilu Shtiyah V'chulu. So Yinaleni has in it the idea of taking care and taking care of all the food and the drink of the person, the necessities of the person. So from Tuis, so it turns out as Davke Dur the Beide Psukim zusammen, that it's only specifically through these two psukim together is Doimeloi. We have similar to it. As the Loshem Vayinalim werd gezogt, that when you say Vayinalim is said, nit nor b'shayches, so Agashmis dikunil von not only in association with a physical moving, leading from walking, or the nor b'negeetz aklos dikan or just in a general conduct, for a Medina, un am, from a country or a nation. But we can also use it, kneel in a general way, taking care, but in associations, as it associates to so specific matter to food. So so even though we're talking about lechem, and still there is the idea of vayinalim. And all this we get from the doimeloi, and because that's the way we teach it once we have the ein menahelo, which is a general leadership, but then we're teaching out that he leads them on the still waters, that a general from a specific water, mayim, but he leads them in a general way, taking care of all of their needs within that specific, whether it's going on the water or on the lechem in our pasuk. Both. Yeno shel Torah in Pirush Rashi, the one of Torah in Pirush Rashi. So, from pasuk Vayilaket Yosef is kol hakesef animtzo beretz Mitzrayim goimer. Now Yosef collected all the kesef. Kesef figuratively means the love of Hashem. Loshen nichsef nichsavti. So the Alter Rebbe says on this pasuk is kol hakesef animtzo beretz Mitzrayim. All of the kesef that is in Eretz Mitzrayim, Vayova Yosef is a kesef base of Padre, and Yosef brings that kesef, that silver, he brings it to the house of Padre. The Alter Rebbe Mavayid in Torah Eir. Alter Rebbe explains in Torah Eir, as in Avas Hashem Zanadot Sugim Klolim, that in love of Hashem we find two general categories. Aleph, the Ave was vert neulat from Seichel, from der Izbonnus in Gadus Havaychulu, the love that is created from the intellect. That is, when we have a reflection, a meditation, the greatness of Hashem, we create a level of love. And base, the second is the Ava Musuteres, there is the hidden love. Which every Yid has in his nature because of the godly soul. which naturally is drawn to Hashem. Hashem is their source and root, and naturally you draw yourself to Hashem. That's an inherent. One is based on the intellect, and one is an inherent. Nor the ave is musuteres behelam vehester. That love that's inherent is hidden. It's blocked, it's obscure, it's not open. Und durch hisbeinenus, and through reflection, is and then that love, through reflection, you wake it up, you arouse it, and you bring it out from the hidden to the revealed. So there's one that is created by the person through his hisbeinenus, and the other one is waken up through his hisbeinenus. Und der Unterschied zwischen die zwei Suge and the difference between these two types of categories of love is it's similar to the difference between the two ways that the grain grows. There's sometimes a grain that is planted, and sometimes a grain that grows by itself from the previous years. Aleph, the tvua, was wachsen durch Zriya. There's growth of grain that goes through planting. And Beis, and number two, the sfichim, that grow alone, was wachsen for sich allein, they grow on their own. Nicht von einer itzdiker Zriya, not from something that was sown presently, nor from einer friediker Zriya, but something that was sown in the past, shenofel bo mikvar, that fell in the ground from some time ago. Al derech zeh is the chilik zwischen the beide aves. Similarly is the difference between the two loves. The ave was wetnis ave durch hisbeinenus, the love that comes into being through reflection, is al derech, that is similar with the tzmicha, was wächst von the itziker Zriya. That is like something that grows from the present sowing. Mashenken der gilu von der ave mesuteres, as opposed to the revelation of the hidden love, is bedugmas hasfichim. That is similar to those sfichim that grow on their own. It's almost as it comes by itself. Because the love has already been in the level of sown in the soul from before. It was there already before, because that's the musuteres, but it was hidden. Und die Zriya for the Abba musuteres by jeden hidden, who sows that hidden love by every Jew, through Yosef, the supreme tzaddik. That's the level of the spheres of Atzilus, the level of Yisoid. This Yosef is tzaddik elyon, which is mashpia and malchus. Was der mitwerter angerufen, ganeno diginso. He's called the gardener of the garden, Yosef. And his reye mamshich dem eurin ginso. He is the one that sows and extends that light that Abba Musuteres into the garden. That's the Malchus, the level of the Mokker of Neshamas Yisrael, in the Mokker from Neshamas Yisrael, in the source of Neshamas Yisrael. But this is that Pirush, this is the meaningful. By Lakit Yosef as Kol HaKesef Gomer, by Yove Gomer Beis Pari. The Alter Rebbe explains that he collected all the Kesef and he brings it to the house of Pari. As the Allah B'chinas Chasodim, all the level of Chesed, which is Kesef. The various different love was seine Nimshach geworden to Yosef. That word came to Yosef. Yosef got them. He brought in all the Kesef. But Mamshach given in Malchus Mekor Neshamas Yisrael. He extended it into the Malchus, which is the Mekor Neshamas Yisrael. So from Yosef Tzaddik Elyon, from his level of Yisoid, he was Mamshach it into the Malchus. The Amshocha from Abba Mesuteres Yad Nidin. That Amshocha from that hidden love to every Yid. This is Dort Mevur Barucha, as the Alter Rebbe explains in Torah Eretland. Zion. So we can say possibly, as the Inyan is Rashi Merames Perushe, that this idea Rashi hints in his commentary. Vayinalem kimoy vayinagim. He led them as he conducted himself with them, similar to Eminal. The chiluk b'pashtus between loshen hanhoga and loshen hanhola. What's the difference between hanhoga and hanhola, leading and hanhoga? Hanhoga vayinagim. Hanhoga werd genutzt b'derech klal. Hanhoga conduct is generally used when there is a revealed way to lead. Hanhoge in welcher setzt sich an der Kiruv b'pshutei von dem menaheg zu munhag. And you can see the closeness, literally, between the one who's leading and the one who's being led. But on the other hand, the Loshen Hanhole, leadership, weist auf a closing on Eifung von Anführung. That shows on a general conduct of leadership, in which it's not very open. It doesn't stick out. It does wird angeführt von der Manal as it is being led by the one of the leader, the one who is the Manal. Is Rashi mefarish? So Rashi explains, as der Gilu von dem Ava Mesuteres Vainalim. How is the revelation of this hidden love Vainalim, the Hanhola, the hidden way, was is do by Yidden, which exists by every Yidden, is Kimoy Vainagim. It's like Vainagim. Das wird nimshach munhag von Yosef HaTzadik. It is led from Yosef HaTzadik. Yosef HaTzadik is the one that brings it down. Mamshich. This is blois v'doimeloi ein menahelo. It appears like there's nobody leading. It only appears. It seems like as es kumt v'anil von sich allein that it comes being run by itself. Be'emes aber hat es Yosef zereh gewen. But in truth, Yosef is the one that sowed it specifically in every year. Der Shoyresh von der Ava is von Eur Kadma. The root from this Ava comes from the earlier light. Hecher von Ishtaushlus. Setzt sich nicht an die Gilu wie das kommt von Milo, so then you cannot see openly as it comes from above. The river is Mars. So Vainalim Kimoy Vainagim, that really it's Vainagim. It comes from Yosef. And especially, he is the one that gives the light in higher Shtauslos. And we can't see it. The Rebbe is Rashi Mamshich and bringt of them Posik al Mei Menuchas in Aleni. Al Mei Menuchas on still water, he leads me, but in them Zainen Rumas Beidin Yonim. Over here we have both of these aspects hinted. The Gilu von Ave Musuteres is nidur the itzikir. That revelation of the hidden love is not something that you did now, that you saw now. Nor bedugmas hatzmicha. This is similar to growth al menei menuchos on still water was bechlal is dort tzmicha for svichim. Over there on the still water, over there grows these svichim that come alone was vaksum atzim. They go on their own. Beyachad their moker for mei menuchos, but together with being Mei Menuchas, what is this source of the Mei Menuchas? Was is Bechinas Yisoid, that is lovely Yisoid, was is the Madrekes Yosef Tzadik Elyon. It is Yosef Tzadik Elyon who, Al Mei Menuchas Yinahaleni, dos wird zu ihm Nimshach von a Madrege, was is Hecher for the Shtaushlus. And this comes to him from a level which is higher than the Shtaushlus, Bechinas Bina. Was wird angerufen Mei Menuchas. So in the Mei Menuchas, in which it seems like it's a Ava Mesuteret come on its own, it really comes from the level of Bina, from the Eur Kadma. V'mavur in Kabbalah and Chassidus, as explained in Kabbalah and Chassidus. Ches. So while there is the Ava Mesuteres, but the Gilui, the Poil from the Ava Mesuteres is Aidei Yisbarnus. The actual revelation of this hidden love comes through meditation, reflection. There's Mavayit into the Eir, the Maimer Azal, as he explains the saying of our sages, Nichnas Yayin, Yotza Soid, when the wine comes in, the secret comes out. Asoid is the Ava Musteres Anal. The secret, that's the hidden love. On der Gilu von der Ava, how does this love revealed is durch his bonus was wird angerufen Yenshel Torah. That's through the reflection, which is called the wine of Torah. Nichnas Yayin, you bring in Yayin, you bring in the Pnimius HaTorah, and that reflection of that brings about and takes the soid that Abba Teres, that is bonus, and that's called the Yenishal Torah. Val derech zeh, to the limud from Yenishal Torah. That's his bonus, is Yenishal Torah. Same thing is the study of Yenish the Pnimius Torah is Oich Yotze Soid Also, the secret comes out. This to them gilui, to them sosum and elam betachlis, to that which is totally hidden. Them ketzav geula comes out open. It's totally obscure. We don't know when Mashiach is coming. But it will come out through the learning of Chassidus, as Melech HaMashiach promised the Baal Shem Tov. As when he comes, when your well springs will go out to the outside. The Mayona is from Pnimis HaTorah, the wells of the inner part of Torah. That's Mesichas Shabbos Parshas Vayigash Tovshin Lamed Vav.